Listen, I don't want any more bullshit.
What's up, bullshit free gang? Yeah, I know it hurts. Lean into it. It's okay. It's okay to hurt, man. Being a Colts fan right now is like having a great dad who's a fucking functional alcoholic. I mean, he's so great some of the times. He does so many great things, has such fantastic potential, but that flaw, and when he drinks, and his flaw shows itself, it is fucking brutal. It just rips your fucking heart out, right? But it's going to be okay, I promise you, because I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to keep it 100 with you. I'm going to keep it a buck. I'm going to tell you something real right now that it might be hard to hear, but I promise you, a year from now, this time, you're going to be looking back on this. You're going to be happy I told you, all right? I promise you. All right, so I'm going to just hit you with it. Here it is. It might shock you to hear this, but the truth is, the Colts right now, the Colts are right on schedule. Right on schedule to where they should be right now. And as crazy as that might sound, as hard as it might be to accept, I'm going to lay out the case for you and explain it in its entirety using nothing but facts, logic, and reason. By the time I'm done, you're going to say, you know what, Harkine? I hate to fucking say it, but you are right. So there's no need for me to load this Glock and have this lead salad right now and end it all. All is well and all is as it should be. It's all going to be good. So I promise you, I will lay out the entire case. And by the time I'm done, you will agree with me. Yes, that makes sense. However, there is a big fat fucking problem that could derail everything. And I'm going to tell you what that is too. But before I do, let me be the gracious, resplendent, provocateur extraordinaire host that I always am, and welcome you back, or if it's your first time, welcome you to the #1 uncensored NFL podcast on the planet. Let me welcome you to the one and only, often imitated but never duplicated, completely unique, completely unfiltered, completely untamed, controversial, entertaining, and free to say whatever the fuck we want to as ever, the world's famous bullshit-free Colts podcast. The only place, the only refuge on the planet where you can hear all things worth talking about when it comes to our beloved Indianapolis Colts. But here, baby, you hear it with no coach speak, no spin, no PR, no political correctness, and most importantly and most enduringly, no fucking bullshit. I'm your host, Harkine Ajala, at your motherfucking service as always. And you know what? Let's dive right into it, because processing this fucking game that we just witnessed is going to take psychiatrist level therapy and discussion, all right? I mean, holy fucking shit. I mean, at this point, as diehard Colts fans, you and I are exactly like people who are in abusive relationships. We're like fucking battered spouses of the NFL. And I'm telling you, as I sat there and the Colts were dominating Tennessee early, Tennessee was reeling, the Colts pick off Ryan Tannehill on like the 30, 40-yard line, and then Carson Wentz marches him right down, fires a bullet into the end zone for MPJ's second touchdown of the day to put them up 14-0. The Lucas Oil Stadium crowd is rocking, going crazy. The Titans' heads are hanging down, and the Titans come back out. They get the ball. They can't convert. They kick the ball back to the Colts, and the Colts have the ball again, driving up 14-0 with an opportunity to put more points on the board. And at this point, when it's clear that, look, if they even get another field goal here, this game should be over. Tennessee should be broken. There's no fucking way. And as they were driving, they were up 14-0. The first thought that popped into my head was, you know what? This is what I've been predicting. I told my son, I said, this is either going to be a close game, but don't be surprised if the Colts come out here and blow them out. Don't be surprised. And I was sat there, and the first thought that popped in my head is, it's just like you thought. They're going to fucking run these boys out of fucking town. They're going to blow this team out. And then it's just as soon as that thought popped in my head, the abusive spouse thought popped in. And I said, oh, fuck, is this getting ready to be like Baltimore all over again? See, because that's what happens when you're abused by someone you love. You just come to expect the abuse again. You feel me? I'm not trying to make light of spouses being abused, obviously. I'm just trying to draw an honest analogy for what this shit feels like. As soon as I thought, man, this is it. We're going to run these boys out of here, jump back into the race, take control of the division, and run this bitch into the playoffs. As soon as that thought came to my mind, the second afterwards, I was like, uh-oh, wait a minute. Are we getting ready to get abused again? Is that a punch coming? You know what I mean? And I'll be goddamn, they don't convert the 4th and 3. And you can go back and check the Twitter. Check the Twitter. I put it out there on the Twitter webs. When they missed that 4th and 3rd, I tweeted out, it's cool to be aggressive. That's fine. But if that's me, I would have punted that bitch and pinned Tennessee down deep. And I'll tell you why in a second. Like I said, we're going to break this all down, go a little deeper into it. But before we do, let's just get this shit out of the way, all right? Get the housekeeping out of the way. I need you to do me one quick favor. Again, if you're still a Colts fan this morning, like I am, one thing we know is you're a diehard fan and you're a pimp. So take your pimp ass index finger, smash that like button down below. It's free to you, but it's priceless to us because it allows the algorithm to share this podcast far and wide with other diehard, true blue, bleeding blue Colts fans in need of this therapy like you and I are today. All right? So please make sure you hit the like button right now. Share this with somebody else who will appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe so you can make sure you get these motherfuckers when I put them out. You know, YouTube be on some Biden shit sometimes, forgetting to do shit. I told y'all I'm an equal opportunity clowner. And if you appreciate what we're doing, feel free to support the page by donating below. There are 3 ways to do it. Everything helps, $20, $15, $10, $5, even $1. And of course, by popular demand, we now have the bullshit-free Colts podcast VIP Patreon you can sign up for right down below. Just click the button. And now with that, let's get to the brutal but necessary task at hand. Ergo, let's chop it the fuck up. All right, let's just get to the elephant in the room, all right? We may as well just get down to it. Watching that game was like you got a text from your smoking hot ass coworker that said, hey, I just sent you some naked pictures. And then when you open the text, it's a fucking naked picture of Caitlyn Jenner. Like, male or female, that's enough to send you to the corner of a room, rocking back and forth, hugging yourself. You know what I mean? That's what watching this fucking game was like. I mean, your team's playing well. They're peaking. They're the healthiest they've ever been the entire season. The offensive line, the starting offensive line, is back full strength for the first game in the whole fucking season. T.Y. Hilton's back. Wentz is healthy. You're playing at home. You're playing your rival. It's the biggest game of the season. You win. You're only 1 game back with crazy momentum and the Jets and the Jaguars coming up. And if you lose, you're 4 games back and pretty much out of the fucking division race, if not the playoff race, quite frankly. It's in your place. The roof is open. It's a beautiful day of football. And you come out and jump up 14-0 in the 4th quarter. To your hated rival. Their heads are hanging down. And you're driving. You're driving to put the dagger in. Only to like 55 fucking minutes later, 57 minutes later, the score is now tied 24-24. And you're backed up inside your own 10-yard line. And your quarterback, well, Let's back up because we need to do this justice. Your wonderkind Mensa member head coach decides to call a fucking screen inside his own 10 Here comes the rush. After they read the screen, they're bearing down on your quarterback. It's about to be a safety. Your quarterback then throws this crazy looking rainbow pass with his left hand up into the air, and the Tennessee Titan promptly scoops it and walks into the end zone to make the score 31-24 with 1 minute and 26 seconds left. And you're like, motherfucker, we're actually going to lose this game. Next thing you know, 1 minute and 4 seconds later, your team's on the 1 yard line running in a beautifully designed wildcat play for the tying touchdown, sending the game into overtime. Now in overtime, you win the toss. You get the ball. You can't score. You're like, oh, fuck. Oh, here we go. You punt the ball. Your defense comes up with the stop. The Titans are punting the ball back. You get the kick. Hines runs it up to like the 30. You've got good field position. You're literally 40 yards away from a very makeable kick that will win the game. Then you're, once again, Mensa member, super duper smart, brilliant head coach, calls 3 passes, and your franchise quarterback throws the worst interception of the year, which is run back to our own 30, all while, and I need to add this, all while you got 3 other motherfuckers wide open, including, I believe it was Nyheim Hines, or it might have been Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor, who's wide open about 8 yards down the field in front of you, inexplicably, without a Tennessee Titan player within 20 yards of him. He probably could have picked up the 40 yards himself had Wentz thrown the ball to him. And that's the fucking ball game. And you end up losing a game that you were leading 14 points in the first quarter with the ball. I mean, does that about sum it the fuck up or not? My God, again, this game, again, it's like you went to PTs with fucking Urban Meyer. You paid for a private lap dance in the VIP section with the hottest chick in there. And then the curtains open and in walks fucking Caitlyn Jenner again. And that's for the men. I know I got plenty of ladies that listen to this podcast. So ladies, all you need to do is sub in to the same scenario. When the curtains open, Dan fucking Dockage walks in. You get my point. That's what this game was like for a Colts fan. So, needless to say, when I said to you that shockingly, the Colts as a team, where they stand right now, 3-5, 4 games back in their division, and with about a 35% chance of making the playoffs, are right on schedule. You're probably thinking, Harkon must be smoking the same weed Chris Ballard and his squad were smoking when they took Quincy Wilson in the second round. But I'm telling you, I'm serious about this. See, now let me explain. See, here's something the fans and the media don't really want to admit, and I understand why. But the truth of the matter is this. The Colts went back into a full rebuild, full stop, the moment Andrew Luck quit a week before the season started in 2019. Remember, that was only 2 years ago. Going into that season, we were supposed to be on our way to an AFC championship game, right? Look at the plan. So Ballard comes in here 2017. Andrew Luck's hurt, doesn't play the whole season. Grigson is gone. Pagano is, a placeholder until they figure out who they want to coach the team, right? And since they're going to be basically using that whole season to just get rid of all of Grigson's trash players and bring in players that fit what Chris Ballard and his team want to do, that's a throwaway season, right? You go 4-12. That's fine. Now you got high draft picks, etc. All right. Now, 2018, You're going to be getting Luck back. You get all these picks because you move from 3 to 6 from the Jets. You bring in Nelson. You bring in Darius Leonard, the Maniac. You make all these great picks. You get Braden Smith. You're starting to put it together. In 2018, Luck comes back, has his best season maybe of his career overall. You go 11-5. You make the playoffs. You beat the Titans, or was it the Titans or the Texans? One of those two. You win that first playoff game. Then you go to Kansas City, play the best team in the league, and you get smoked. All right? Not a great ending, but you're like, this is fine. This is fine. It's Luck's first year back. He's fully healthy. He made it through the year, didn't get any more injuries. The line's coming together. We got Darius, all pro, et cetera, et cetera. You still had T.Y. Hilton. Everything's looking great. And at that point, you're like, we're good, because next year, 2019, baby, we're going to add a few pieces and we are going to the big dance maybe. But we're definitely making noise in the playoffs. We plan to get to the AFC Championship and take our shot at the Super Bowl, right? Then the whole thing plays out. I don't even want to go back over that, because even thinking about it now just pisses me off. But I'll just say this about it. Something that, you guys have been listening to me. You know how I feel about this. But, you can say anything you want to say. The truth is, that was a really fucked up thing Luck did to the team and the city and his teammates. Not that he quit. Not that he retired. That's his choice. I still say we're not talking about a guy who was burning, who had a burning white-hot desire to win a championship. When you quit, you retire after playing only 6 years with the best roster coming up that you ever had in your career, and a real chance at winning the Super Bowl because you got a fucking calf injury that isn't healing quickly, and you don't want to go through another rehab. That's some fucked up shit to me. And you'll never make me see it differently. That's maybe I won't say some fucked up shit, but I won't say fucked up, but let me just say this. Like I said, that's a guy who doesn't really have a burning desire to win a championship. And that's fine. That's on him. But to do it a week before the season starts, so there's no way to retool, readjust, go a different direction. Oh, you're leaving Andrew? Okay, great. We'll take this offseason to get prepared. We can find another quarterback, blah, 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 blah. To do that shit, make that decision a week before the season starts is inexcusable. I won't say unforgivable, but inexcusable. And that is some fuckboy bullshit. And no one will ever convince me differently. Don't at me. So, as I said then, I say to this day, he deserved to be booed the way the fans had to find that out during the middle of the fucking final preseason game of the year. And we're all thinking, yo, this is our year. And he's out there playing and laughing on the sideline, knowing goddamn good and well the next day he's going to come out and shock the fucking world by saying, I quit. He deserved those fucking boos. He deserved them. And you know what? It ain't that big a deal. He's a big boy. I'm sure he's not going to have to go to therapy because he got booed once. We still love him. He just deserved his fucking boos at that point. Either way, back to what I was saying, the moment he did that, the moment he had that shabby looking ass, shook ass press conference and quit, the Colts went into a rebuild full stop. And so everything started over. They're back to square one. And that first year, 2019, they didn't have their QB. You had Jacoby Brissett. They were acting like, yeah, we think he's a star. Okay, whatever. They start off 5-2 and then end up 7-9. What does that tell you? Everything you need to know. So now you got to retool and readjust and go in a different direction. because you ain't got a QB. You got to find a franchise QB, along with drafting young talent to make the roster balanced. That's what the problem was at that point, right? So that's what they were doing in year one. Now, year two of the rebuild was 2020. They still didn't have a QB, clearly. So they went out and got a stopgap in Phillip Rivers, thinking, okay, look, we're still not there with our roster. We don't know who our QB of the future is going to be, and we're not sure how we can get one right now. But let's try to keep the train going. Bring in Rivers as a stopgap. That way we can still retool our skill positions and develop our young players. And let's point out, they go out and they swing and they hit them across the fences with Jonathan Taylor, MPJ, Michael Pittman Jr., and Julian Blackmon that same year. And I believe that's the year they drafted Isaiah Rodgers as well. But at any point, they did their thing. That's also the year that Ballard made the big trade of the first round pick and brought in Dafuq, right? So normally in year two of a rebuild, okay, you went 7-9 the year before. If you could go 9-7 and be on the cusp of the playoffs, just be pushing towards the playoffs. 1 year after you went 7-9 at the beginning of a rebuild, that's huge. That's huge. If you could just have a winning record, that's huge. But instead, they've got talent. Rivers plays a lot better than anybody expected, especially late in the season. They win 11 games, make the playoffs, push Buffalo to the limits. Still should have beaten Buffalo, but pushed them to the limits. Tough team on the road. And you're like, hey, this team's ahead of the curve. Now the fans start going, man, we're a quarterback away. But we're only in year two of the rebuild, guys. The truth is this year, 2021, is only year three of the rebuild. So what do you get done in year three? Well, you acquire what you think could be your franchise quarterback. You make a trade, first and a third, conditional first, however you want to put it. But everybody knew it was going to be a 1 and a 3. That's why, fans are like, oh, we need to do this and do that. We don't want to lose that pick. Understand, you don't make that trade unless you are comfortable with giving up the 1 and the 3. You know that is the likely scenario. And for the people who are like, well, they should sit Wentz and keep the pick, that's some ultimate fuckboy shit. If you do that, then you're not acting in good faith, and now you're not going to have other teams that want to trade with you. You feel me? So nah. Besides the fact it doesn't make sense, it's not a good move for the team. We need Wentz to play with these guys. The line and the receivers. We need that. So again, that brings me back. Year three of the rebuild, and you just got what you think is your franchise quarterback. Remember, this guy didn't really have a training camp. This is the first year that your hopefully franchise quarterback, looks like it, is playing with his offensive line, with these receivers. The receivers themselves are young. With this new running back room, he's getting used to the team. You're in year three. Okay, Colts fans are like, let's go to the bowl, Super Bowl or bust. But in reality, year three of a rebuild, if you're even close to the playoffs, you're like, hey, we're in good shape. If you make the playoffs, again, you're ahead of the game. You're ahead of the game. So, where are they in year three? Well, they're trying to draft, hopefully, the final missing piece, right? They're trying to find that elite pass rusher. That's why they go after Pay and Dio. They just feel like, hey, we got to take this swing at Dio, who they believe they believe he's a first-round talent, could be elite, who fell to the second round because of the injury. They're like, we got to take this swing because elite pass rusher is what we need. Elite pass rusher is what we need. Then you got to let the pieces build and settle in and get on the same page and sync up this year. 2022, that's the year that you would expect your rebuild to be a solid playoff team. Like, hey, we ought to be able to go to the playoffs and hopefully win a game or two. 2023, which will be the fifth year of the rebuild, or the fourth year of the rebuild. If you can win the division and contend for a Super Bowl, any team will tell you to do that in 4 years, you winning like a motherfucker. You winning like a motherfucker. So who are the Colts now in year 3 of the rebuild? They're a team that has a very good roster, strong roster, has some all-pro players on both sides of the ball. You got a budding superstar in Michael Pittman Jr. at the wide receiver. You have a superstar, probably the second best running back in the league in Jonathan Taylor, right? Your offensive line is stocked with all pros. Even Eric Fisher is a former Pro Bowler, and you might have noticed he played much, much, much better yesterday. Things are rounding into shape. You found your 2 backup linemen you need that are so important in Chris Reed and Matt Pryor, or say Glow and Matt Pryor, right? Because Chris Reed's out playing Glow. He's obviously the starter going forward, right? You still got your linebacker. Bobby Okereke is looking better every week. Julian Blackmon's hurt, but he's a Pro Bowl level safety. Kari Willis is also a Pro Bowl level safety. He's super underappreciated. He's had some bad games, but he's a solid Pro Bowl caliber strong safety. You got Defoe, all pro on the D-line. You got Grover Stewart, again, super underrated, Pro Bowl caliber talent. Kwity Paye look, I watch the film every week. He hasn't got sacks yet, but he's a rookie. He's going to be a good one. I don't know if he'll be elite, but he's going to be a very good starting pass rusher for sure. My guess is by next year, maybe year 3, he could be elite. He could be a beast. You brought in Dio, however you say it. Hopefully he works out. But you got a lot of talent there. Al-Quadin Muhammad is super underrated, playing great. Tyquan Lewis, probably, I don't know if he'll be back or not. He was playing really great. I'm so sorry. Just torn up for him that he blew his knee out and he's gone for the season, because he was actually having a great season. They're ahead of the curve. Where are they at? They are better than most average teams. They're above average. They're going to beat bad teams and average teams this year, as we've seen. They go on the road and take care of San Francisco. They should have beat Baltimore, which is a very good team. I mean, they didn't. We get it, the final score, but you and I both know that they should have won that game. They outplayed Baltimore for all but like 9 minutes, right? Before they had to roll out the ex-rally workers playing in the secondary. And, you know, I'm not saying that to disparage those guys. They may grow into very good NFL players, but right now, you know, they should be selling Toyotas, right? Let's keep it 100. But again, this team is ahead of the curve. They're not only just right on schedule, they're ahead of the curve. They're going to beat bad teams and most average teams. They're above average. They haven't quite put it all together yet to be able to beat the good teams. But again, that's normally how it goes. This is a reasonable timeline. And listen, Chris Ballard is well aware of that. That's why at the very beginning of this year, when he was asked about if he was worried that, hey, you know, do you feel pressure to really make a run because the window might be closing? And he kind of laughed. He said, I don't know about that. It might be just opening. He never thought this team was as close to contending this year as the fans and the media want them to be, right? And they're not. And that's fine. They're right where they should be. As a matter of fact, a little bit ahead. Chris Ballard went into this season knowing this was an evaluation year. So, you know, all of the, hey, why didn't he go into the free agent market? I promise you, Chris Ballard will open the wallet for a big-time free agent if one actually hits that he believes is elite. As you saw him trade away a first-rounder without a second thought to get an elite defensive tackle, especially since that's an absolute necessity in this defense that they're playing. And you know what else is? an elite pass rusher. So if there's one on the market, he will. If he feels like there's one out there, he'll pay the money to get him. But what he's not going to do is pay elite money for just, a guy who's a really good starter. Feel me? And it didn't make any sense to even pay for a good guy because why? This is an evaluation year, right? This is what I'm telling you. We're in year 3 of the rebuild. They have to know what they have in these young guys so they can make the decision on, hey, do we need to draft? Do we need to look to draft? And if it's not in the draft, we got to go out and get it. They need to see what they have in Kamoko Toure, what they have in Tyquan Lewis, what they have in Kwity Paye and Dio, what they have in Ben Banigou, right? You got to make a decision. What do they have in Isaiah Rodgers? They need to be able to see because they've spent big. They have got the cornerstones, most of the cornerstones in place. So they need to know, hey, exactly where do we need to go next to complete this stew? They took a big swing on Wentz, and if he hadn't worked out, they would have still been like kind of behind the 8 ball because you're like, okay, so we still need our quarterback. But he looks like he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. Got to reel him in a little bit. Don't let him feel the pressure to make it all happen because that's when he gets into his reckless hero ball thing. But I feel pretty confident that they'll get that reined in. But the point is, they're right where they should be, maybe even a little ahead. They got the ingredients in the pot. The main ingredients are just starting to simmer and mix together into some good-ass fucking Lombardi-level stew. Jonathan Taylor, Darius Leonard, Nyheim Hines, Michael Pittman Jr., Quentin Nelson, Braden Smith, DeForest Buckner, Mo Alley Cox, Julian Blackmon, Kenny Moore, Kari Willis, Wentz, who's only 29, by the way, in the prime of his career. And that's kind of a huge thing because, see, if you have a rookie quarterback, now you got to have 2 years just for him to kind of get where he's seasoned. And remember, like when Luck hit that 3rd year and it was like, okay, now I know what the fuck I'm doing. It's not just, pure talent and ability and natural. He was like, he was a vet. He knew what he was doing. We don't have to go through that with Wentz. And he's only 29. And yeah, even finally Rock Ya-Sin is starting to look like. Even Rock Ya-Sin. Those are the main ingredients of the Lombardi stew, baby, that they're trying to cook. Only missing now one huge ingredient. One huge fucking ingredient. A disruptive elite pass rusher. That's the last thing you gotta have. And some people say, well, they need a shutdown corner. Not really. You don't need a shutdown corner. You need a couple of really solid, good tackling ones, though. Shutdown won't hurt, but the last ingredient you gotta have, a disruptive elite pass rusher. And that's why they're swinging for that. If Kwity Paye and or Dio, even just one of them, turn into what they think they're going to be, who they think they're going to be, then all the main ingredients will be complete and in place. And all you got to do is let it just all stew together. And they will contend, and I believe win a Super Bowl. But they'll definitely be contending for one for, 4 or 5 years straight. But that brings us to the biggest fucking problem. Dun, 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 right? There's always the rub. That brings us to the biggest problem that's threatening to hold the Colts back from fulfilling that Super Bowl contending potential right now, and maybe even in the future. And no, it's not Carson Wentz or the quarterback position. Look, let me say this on Wentz. All right, Colts fans are like kids that grew up rich. We just got to be honest about this. We're completely out of touch with the normal realities of the NFL. That's how rich kids are. They're just completely out of touch with the normal realities of most people. The normal reality in the NFL, man, you got a chance to see it when Luck quit. That's what it's like for most people, scrambling. I hear Colts fans saying, all right, let's just tank the season now, sit Wentz, and we'll just draft our QB with our first round pick this year in 2022. Oh, okay. Like drafting a QB high in the first round is a guarantee they're going to get the next Manning or Luck. But that's how Colts fans think, because that's what's happened for the last 20 years. You went right from Manning to drafting Luck. Luck fell in your lap. But one season earlier, right? Or, we would have had Cam Newton. You feel me? It's not how it works. You think just because you draft the QB in the high first, 1 through 10 in the first round, you're guaranteed to get a franchise QB? Oh, I beg to differ. Just ask fucking Chicago, who moved up to number 2 to get Mitch Trubisky, and now he's backing somebody up. I think the Raiders, right? Fuck, ask Tennessee. They picked Marcus Mariota number 2. Now he's somewhere backing somebody up. Now I think he's with the Raiders. And they got the Miami Dolphins cast off. The guy that the Miami Dolphins and everybody else, so-called NFL experts, said was a bust, right? I'm telling you, y'all don't know what the fuck it's really like. Ask some of these other teams. Here's the truth. 50% of the quarterbacks taken number 1 overall aren't even as good as Carson Wentz. All right? So fucking count your blessings that we got a guy who has all the tools to be a franchise QB. And we've already seen, okay, you just keep him reeled in and don't try to put the whole game on him. And I put some of this on Reich too, man. You got to, calm your fucking guy down sometimes. In game. We'll get that in a minute, though. But the truth is, look, Carson was fine yesterday until the second half. Then he started really pressing, trying not to let the team and the fans down, trying to prove, hey, I promise I'm a good quarterback. I'm not a piece of shit like they told you last year. I'm going to make it happen for y'all. When he starts doing that, when he starts pressing, he does exactly what he's trying not to do. And yeah, I mean, okay, I'll say this, because there's going to be some motherfuckers. He was trash. Look, yesterday was his worst game as a Colt. No doubt about it. So maybe he wasn't fine yesterday until the second half. He looked great in the first quarter. The second quarter, he did have some misses. The big one where he overthrew Doolin. That would have been a first down. That was a big one. I get it. So yesterday, without a doubt, was his worst game as a Colt. But it wasn't no goddamn the whole building is divided on him. Get the fuck out of here, Colin Cowherd. You coming up with some bullshit and saying I heard it, hot take son of a bitch, because you want clicks and attention. I get it. Whatever, man. Do what you got to do and say what you got to say. Make up what you got to make up to get the bag. Nobody gives a fuck here anyway. But again, without a doubt, yesterday was Wentz's worst game as a Colt. But let me say this. I went back and I watched the film of the interception in the end zone. Go back and watch it. People are like killing him for that. But if you go back and watch it, he actually saved the game for the Colts. The fault on that, Frank Reich's 100% correct. It was his fault. He should have never called that play. Because if you watch the play, what happens is Wentz, they're trying to run this screen. The Titans blow it up. And at that point, Wentz is fucked. All he can do is back up into the end zone because the rush is coming directly at him. He starts to try to throw it at the ground, but he's in the end zone. And if he throws it at the ground, it doesn't get far enough up to where he's got a person. At that point, it's intentional grounding. So it needs to get up to a Colts lineman at least, near them, to make it look like he's throwing it away towards them. Otherwise, it's intentional grounding, and that's an automatic safety. And if a safety happens there, the game is over. When he tosses the pass up, looking at it in real time, it looks like, why the fuck's he just throw it up? Well, what happens is, by that time, they're in the end zone. They have him in their grasp. Two guys are taking him down to the ground. He just sees a Colts blue jersey, and he just tosses the ball. Because if he takes a safety there, the game is over. They get 2 points and take the lead. Then the Colts have to free kick off to them. And the Titans could basically just run the clock out there. Believe it or not, a pick six there is better than a safety because the Colts at least get the ball back. And then when they get the ball back, Wentz does something and nobody's giving him credit for today because they've just forgot about it because of the outcome. But the play he made to get them down the field, the plays he made were incredible. The play he made where he eludes the linebacker, gets out of the linebacker's grasp, catches himself, stops himself from falling, and then in one move picks himself up and throws like a 45-yard pass to Michael Pittman Jr., who makes another big-time catch. That was fucking amazing. Then he finds Doolin open and gets the in the end zone, puts the ball up, they get the penalty, and they get the touchdown. So he gives them the chance to tie the game back up by avoiding that safety. Go back and watch it. I'm not just making it up. Okay, he saved the game. Now, the second interception that he throws in overtime, that fucking ball can't be thrown. Period. That's the killer. That's the worst pass he threw. That's the pass that cost them the game. Because he's got Taylor open. He's got two other guys open. You can't make that throw. Period. End of story. So, I said it before. When Carson starts pressing, he becomes kind of a gunslinger, thinks he can fit it in there, and makes mistakes. But you know what? He ain't the only one. You know, y'all motherfuckers forgot, but Luck used to do the same exact thing all the fucking time. But the narrative, I was talking about this on Twitter today, Luck didn't play long enough for the narrative to ever change on him. The public narrative stayed, oh, he's elite. He's the best prospect since Peyton Manning. He's amazing. I'm not saying he wasn't. He was. But a couple more years, you have a bunch of interceptions like he was throwing early on. Shit could have changed, have a couple bad years. Luck did the same shit, and quiet as kept. First few years, Peyton Manning used to do that shit too. He used to force shit. That's why when Tony Dungy got here, the first thing he did, the first conversation with Manning was to say, listen, man, you're great, one of the greatest to ever do it. Do your thing, but you got to stop turning the ball over. Just throw it away. Because when you turn the ball over, it directly leads to losses. He reeled Manning in. That's one of the reasons Manning became so great. Reich's got to do the same thing with Wentz. The best thing for Wentz is Frank Reich and Wentz's teammates. Because you got the kind of teammates here, unlike the crybaby, Philly players, whatever. You got solid teammates here that are going to support the dude. Wentz is the guy and the QB that this team can win with for the next 5 or 6 years. Win a Super Bowl. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. They just got to keep him playing within the offense, doing what he does great, and letting his guys, letting his big-time players do what they do great. Wentz is the guy that can make it happen for this team. No doubt in my mind. Nah, he's not the problem. The problem ain't Wentz. But there is that big problem that could derail everything. And the true big problem is this. Drum roll, please. Frank Reich must give up the play calling duties. I promise you, that's the real problem at the core of all his coaching struggles. He's got to give up the play calling duties. Now, I've been a entrepreneur and a business owner. And I've built and run multiple successful businesses over the past 10 to 15 years, and I'm telling you, I know exactly the dilemma that Reich is in, what he's struggling with. But this is one of the great rules you learn in business. A lot of times, in order to scale and level up and go to succeed on a bigger level, you got to let go of doing some of the shit that you really love doing. Because to grow, you have to be able to see the big picture at all times. You got to guide the thing. You got to oversee it all. And that means, again, letting go of doing some of the stuff you love and managing and overseeing other people doing it. And now, let's be honest. Let's be honest, this is Frank Reich's fourth season here. And this is a constant thing we've seen over all 4 seasons. Listen, the man is a genius level intellect. Real talk. He's a brilliant play designer and a fantastically brilliant play caller sometimes. And the way that he deals with the players, when you take all into account, he can also be a great head coach. But see, trying to do that and manage the team as the head coach in game has made him a jack of 2 trades and a master of none. And what it does is result in bad play calls, right? Play calls. It's not just our fucking imagination, fans. Now get it. Trust me, I understand. I'm not here saying that me, you, or any other fan knows more than Frank Reich. I'm not saying that. But it's not our imagination because Reich himself sees it. This is what results in bad play calls that he can later see that he shouldn't have made. And bad head coaching decisions that also he can clearly see later he shouldn't have made. He said it right after the game. I should have never called a fucking screen there. I've been in this league too long to call a screen there. There's too many things that can go wrong, too many bad things that can happen. What is he saying there? He's saying the reward is not worth the risk. He made a bad decision in terms of risk-reward ratio. Why? Because he's trying to split his thinking between play calling and running the fucking team on game day during the game. When you do that, it gets you caught up falling back on your philosophies and your tendencies and your belief. Like I said, another example, going for it on 4th and 3 from the Tennessee 42 or whatever, when you're already up and Tennessee is reeling. That's, I'm aggressive. Right, but here's the problem. You can't coach with your philosophy. I'm aggressive or I'm conservative. You can't coach that way. You got to look at the situation in game, and your philosophy has to be, I'm going to be whatever the fuck I need to be in this particular situation to give us the best chance to win the game. See Belichick, for example. You feel me? Frank says, I should have just, I still think I would have gone for it on 4th and 3, but I should have called a run on 3rd and 3. Why didn't you, Frank? Why can you see that so clearly 10 minutes after the fucking game is over, but not then? I should have never called a screen back up inside our 10 there. Why did you, Frank? Why can you see that 10 minutes after the game, but you couldn't see it then? You know why? Because you're focused primarily on play calling at that point, not managing the entire team, not thinking about what's best for the entire team in all the facets of this situation. That's where your mind has got to be in that situation. Why the fuck do you think that head coaches have coordinators? And more of them don't do that. Most of them have been a coordinator one way or the other, right? Why the fuck do you think they do that? They have coordinators for that specific reason. So you have all your resources there. You don't have the myopia of, looking at it as the play caller. You don't want that nearsightedness. You want to be looking at it from the 5,000-foot view. But see, the problem, I think, is that Wright got robbed of that chance, the normal development chance, because his head coach, Doug Peterson, when he was in Philly, did the same thing. He called the plays, even though Reich was the coordinator. So now, Reich wants his chance to call the plays with all these toys that he's had at least some input in bringing here. You get what I'm saying? He wants his chance to be a true offensive coordinator and call the plays. But let me just tell you something, bro. You want to be an offensive coordinator, Frank? You keep fucking going down the path you're on, you're going to get your wish, but not the way you want it. You feel me? I promise you, in order for this shit to change, Frank's going to have to give up those play calling duties. Now, they asked him about that today, and this is one of the reasons why I release these podcasts on Wednesdays, a couple of days after the game, because I want to get an opportunity to let things settle in, watch the tape, watch the film a couple of times of the game, and really see what's happening, not what my emotions show me. And also I want to kind of hear, what's being said by the players, the coaches, and what have you, what things happen right afterwards. So I can, really put all that together and present it to you guys so we can all kind of chop it up and see it for what it really is. You feel me? So I always give you a couple days so, all the bullshit artists out there can say whatever they're going to say that they're not going to be consistent saying next week. And we can get down to the bullshit-free look, the bullshit-free analysis, the enlightened analysis, which is just what's there. Not what we want it to be, what we hope it to be, but just what's there. And plus, we want to have fun with it. You feel me? So I'm telling you, Reich's going to have to give up the play calling duties. They asked him about it today, the local media, and he said no. That's fine. I mean, of course that's what he's going to say. But what I'm telling you is what's probably going to happen is at some point, somebody other than the media is going to be coming to Frank saying, hey, look, man, I mean, I'm watching it. You're compromised out there trying to call the plays. You're making too many bad decisions as the head coach. And I believe somebody's going to come to him, either Ballard or Irsay or both, and say, yeah, you need to hand over play calling duties, homie. And then you'll get the, I've considered it, and I think the best thing for the team would be for me to, hand over play calling. Yeah, okay. And I would say this, when his answer was no, that's disturbing. That's concerning. That's unsettling. And I think that further corroborates the hypothesis that I'm putting forward here, because what Frank's answer to that question should have been, you know what? If at any time I feel that it's the best thing for the team, that it gives us a better chance to win, I absolutely will hand over play calling duties. Right now, I don't think that's the case. That's the only acceptable answer that should have come from Frank. The fact he just said no tells us again that he's invested in that shit. But that can't be more important than winning, Frank, that you want to call the plays. I'm telling you, that's what's causing the problem. That's the big problem there. Frank's got to, he's got to come out of the fucking chrysalis, out of the offensive coordinator chrysalis, and become the head coach butterfly, bro. You got to become the CEO of this bitch and take us to the promised land to get another fucking ring, dukes. You know what I mean? But listen, don't despair. The Colts are a little bit ahead of where they should be, even though we don't really like acknowledging it. But that's where it is. So everything's going to be fine. They still might make the playoffs this year. They could go on a run. It's definitely possible. As they get healthier, they get more in sync. They certainly could go on a run. I expect them to win the next two and be 5-5. And with the news that came out yesterday or today, Henry gone maybe for the rest of the season, but definitely for the next 6 to 12 weeks. Like I said, this is why I wait a couple days to see what happens. That changes every fucking thing, because the Titans team is completely built around Derrick Henry doing what he does. If they don't have him this year, they're 3-5 all day. No way they come back against the Seahawks. No way they come back in that other game, I think, against the Bills. They don't beat the Colts, I think, either of these two times. They're 3-5, maybe 2-6 without Derrick Henry. So we just got to keep moving forward, get to 5-5, and then take it from there. Get on a fucking roll and see what we can do. But even if they don't make the playoffs this year, everything's going to be fine as long as next season Ballard treats it like what it is, which is the fourth year of a rebuild, and the year that with the talent you have on this roster and now your quarterback, it's time to go all in to win some shit next year. Like, he's got to be making those big swings next year. If he's not, then we got a problem. We're going to talk about that in an upcoming video. But y'all let me know what y'all think. This has been a lot, I know. Had to break down Reich, Wentz, and the fact that the Colts were in good position, right where they should be. I'm very curious and enthusiastically waiting and excited to hear y'all's feedback. I want to hear, I got the best listeners and watchers online. I believe that, bar none. Y'all smart. You know what the fuck's going on. You're funny. So I'm listening. I can't wait to see what y'all think. Let me know in the comments. Some of you guys have asked me, more than 3 or 4 people have asked me about me possibly doing live broadcast, maybe live streams during games. Let me just say this. At first I thought, there's no fucking way I'm going to be able to do that. You know, I want to enjoy the game, but stay tuned. I might do some shit like that. I'm thinking that might be fun. Stay tuned. Either way, I got some really fun and interesting shit coming up that we're going to all enjoy. So, again, let me know your thoughts in the comments. You with me? You think I'm out of my fucking mind? Let me know. I'm interested to see. So, I'm going to end now saying to you and to any Colts player, coach, or front office persons that's listening or watching, because I know some of y'all do, because you get at me all the time. Look, 3-5, it is what it is. Let's get these next 2 from these fucking basement dwellers. I don't give a fuck about Mike Woods or whatever his name is. Mike Smith, you know, up in the Jets. Let's ground that motherfucker. Bring him back to earth. Let's get these next 2, go to 5-5, and then get on a run and go out, make the fucking playoffs, and let's win another fucking Lombardi, baby. ASAF fucking P. Peace. And win another fucking Lombardi, baby. And win another fucking Lombardi.